The morning was quiet and beautiful. Birds sang in the trees. Children walked to school. People drank their coffee and complained about traffic. It was a normal autumn day in Seoul, and nobody knew it'd be the last normal day in human history. Park Do-yoon stood in his kitchen, looking at a photo of his wife and daughter. His wife Yoonji had taken their daughter Hana to visit her grandmother in Bizen. He missed them. He would call them tonight, he thought. He would tell them he loved them. Then the sky turned dark. Do-hyun stepped outside and looked up. Massive shapes blocked the sun. They were not clouds. They were ships. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. They stretched from horizon to horizon, and they were descending. The first blast hit the city center. A beam of white light fell from the sky and erased everything it touched. Buildings turned to dust. Streets melted into glass. In 1 second, 50,000 people stopped existing. Do-hyun ran. He was a captain in the Korean army. He had trained for war his whole life. But nothing had prepared him for this. Nothing could prepare anyone for the end of the world. The ships kept firing. Seoul burned. Do-hyun could hear screaming everywhere, but the screams kept getting quieter as fewer people remained alive to make them. He ran toward the military bunker at Gyeongdae, 50 kilometers south. He ran until his legs failed. Then he stole a motorcycle from a dead man and kept going. The bunker was chaos. Soldiers ran everywhere. Officers shouted orders that nobody followed. Screens showed the same thing from every camera on Earth. Cities burning, ships descending, and strange creatures walking through the flames. The creatures were tall, 7 feet, maybe 8. They had hard shells like insects, with 4 arms and 2 legs. Their heads were flat and wide, with too many eyes. They carried weapons that shot plasma, and they killed everything that moved. Lieutenant Kim Yuna found Do-hyun standing frozen in front of a screen. She was young, only 26, but her face showed no fear. Only cold, hard determination. "Captain Park," she said, "we need to move. The bunker won't hold." "My wife," Do-hyun whispered. "My daughter. They're in Bizen." Yuna's expression did not change, but her voice softened slightly. "Bizen is gone, sir." "I'm sorry." Gone. The word meant nothing. It was too big to understand. His Yoonji, his little Hana, gone. Like Seoul was gone. Like the world was gone. "Captain," Yuna said again, "we need you. The men need you. Whatever happens next, they need someone to lead them." Do-hyun looked at her for a long moment. Then something changed in his eyes. The grief did not disappear. It went somewhere deep inside him, into a dark place where it would burn forever. What remained on his face was something harder. Something dangerous. "How many soldiers do we have?" he asked. 37, sir. Everyone else is dead or missing." Do-hyun nodded. "Get them ready. We're leaving." They escaped the bunker just before it fell. The alien creatures had ground forces now, thousands of them marching through Korea like an unstoppable wave. They had vehicles that floated above the ground. They had machines that scanned through walls and found hiding humans. But they were not perfect. Do-hyun led his small group into the mountains of Gangwon province. The terrain was rough, full of forests and caves. The aliens had trouble with trees. Their scanning machines could not see through thick rock, and they did not understand darkness. For 2 weeks, Do-hyun's group ran and hid. They watched the aliens from far away. They learned. "Their armor has gaps," Yuna reported one night. "At the joints, where the arms connect to the body, where the neck meets the head. Their weapons need to recharge," said Sergeant Baek Jisoo, a former Olympic archer who now carried a hunting bow. "After 3 shots, they wait 4 seconds before firing again. They can't see certain lights," added Private Lee Sun-ho, a 19-year-old boy who had been a university student 3 weeks ago. I watched them walk past a fire that had ultraviolet flames. They didn't even notice it. Do-hyun listened to everything. He wrote it down. He made plans. "We're going to kill one," he said. His soldiers looked at him like he was crazy. Maybe he was. The aliens had destroyed the entire Korean military in 3 days. They had weapons that could level mountains. And Do-hyun wanted to fight them with rifles and knives. "They think we're finished," Do-hyun explained. "They think Earth is conquered. But they don't understand something about humans." He looked at each of his soldiers, one by one. "We don't give up. We don't surrender. And we never, ever stop fighting." They set the trap near a river. Sunho had noticed that alien patrols always stopped at water sources. They did not drink the water, but they collected samples. Perhaps they were testing it. Perhaps they were checking if Earth was suitable for their purposes. Do-hyun did not care why. He only cared about what. When the alien patrol arrived, there were 3 of them. They moved with perfect coordination, covering each other, checking every direction. They were professional soldiers. They had conquered dozens of worlds. They were not afraid of anything. They should have been. Jisu's arrow flew silently through the night. It struck the first alien in the gap between its neck and helmet. The creature made a strange sound, like metal scraping metal, and fell. The other 2 turned toward the sound. They did not see Yuna and Sunho behind them. Yuna tackled the second alien at the knees. It was stronger than her, much stronger, but she was faster. Before it could react, Sunho drove his knife into the joint under its arm. Alien blood, thick and blue, sprayed across the snow. The third alien raised its weapon. It aimed at Sunho's chest. Do-hyun shot it in the face. The bullet did not kill it. The alien's armor was too strong. But the impact knocked its head back, and in that half-second of distraction, Jisu put an arrow through its eye. Silence returned to the forest. 3 alien soldiers lay dead in the snow. Blue blood stained the white ground. Do-hyun's soldiers stood there, breathing hard, unable to believe what they had done. Sunho's hands were shaking. Jisu was crying and laughing at the same time. Even Yuna allowed herself a small, fierce smile. "They can die," Sunho whispered. "They can actually die." Do-hyun picked up one of the alien weapons. It was heavy and strange, but he could see how it worked. He aimed it at a tree and pressed what looked like a trigger. Plasma burned a hole clean through the trunk. "Take everything," Do-hyun ordered. "Weapons, armor, communication devices, everything. We're going to learn how these things work. And then we're going to teach other humans." That night, Do-hyun sent a message through the emergency radio frequencies. It was short. It was simple. And it would be heard by resistance groups across the world. "This is Captain Park Do-hyun of the Korean Army. Today, we killed 3 of them. They can bleed. They can die. And if they can die, we can win. Don't give up. Don't surrender. Fight. Humanity is not finished. The war has just begun." In the mountains of Gangwon Province, 37 humans had done the impossible. They had proven that the invaders were not gods. They were just creatures. Strange and powerful, yes, but mortal. And mortals could be killed. The fire that would burn across Earth had been lit. It started small, with 3 dead aliens and 1 radio message. But it would grow. It would spread. And one day, it would consume everything the invaders had built. They had invaded Earth. Now Earth would answer. With fire. 6 months had passed since the sky turned dark. The aliens called themselves the Velith. They came from a world far across the galaxy, and they had conquered 43 planets before Earth. They were ancient and powerful and completely sure of their victory. They thought Earth was finished. They were wrong. Dr. Sho Minji worked in a cave that used to be a coal mine. Above her, the Velith had built one of their massive bases. They did not know she was there. They did not know that 27 humans lived and worked beneath their feet, studying stolen technology and planning impossible things. Minji was a xenobiologist. Before the invasion, she had studied strange life forms found deep in the ocean. Now she studied the strangest life forms of all, the Velith themselves. I know why they came, she told her team one night. They sat around a dim light, eating canned food and listening carefully. Their homeworld is dying. Their sun is getting too hot. In 50 years, maybe less, their planet will be unlivable. So they need a new home, said Kang Jingho, a former engineer who had lost his entire family in the first attack. They're not conquerors. They're refugees. They're both, Minji said. And that makes them more dangerous. They don't just want our resources. They want our world, all of it. And that means they need us gone. Every single human, dead. The cave went silent. Everyone understood what this meant. There would be no peace treaty, no negotiation, no surrender that kept them alive. The Velith would not stop until humanity was extinct. Then we fight, said Han Nari, a young woman who had been a nurse before the invasion. Now she was a soldier. They all were. Miles away, in the mountains, Captain Park Do-yoon had become something more than a soldier. He was a symbol now. His message from 6 months ago had spread across the world. Resistance groups from every nation knew his name. They called him the Firestarter. His group had grown from 37 to over 300. They lived in tunnels and caves, constantly moving, always hiding. They attacked Velith patrols at night and disappeared before dawn. They stole weapons and equipment. They learned and adapted and became harder to kill with each passing week. Lieutenant Kim Yuna had become his right hand. She planned most of their operations now. She was cold and precise, never wasting a bullet or a life. The soldiers respected her almost as much as they feared her. We have contact with resistance cells on every continent, she reported to Do-yoon one evening. Brazil has taken an entire Velith outpost. They're holding it somehow. Norway has cracked their communication codes. We can listen to everything they say. And Kenya? Do-yoon asked. Yuna almost smiled. Almost. A teenager there figured out how to crash their drones. She's teaching others. Soon they won't be able to use drones against us at all. Do-yoon nodded slowly. The picture was becoming clearer. Humanity was not winning. Not yet, but it was learning. Growing. Becoming something the Velith had never faced before. Sergeant Baek Jisoo entered the command cave. She looked different now than she had 6 months ago. Harder. More dangerous. She had lost count of how many Velith she had killed. Her bow had become legendary, and so had she. New weapons are ready, she announced. We mounted their plasma cores onto our arrows. Silent, deadly, and absolutely terrifying. You tested them? Do-han asked. Jisoo's smile was cold. On a patrol this morning. 4 of them. They never knew what hit them. The Velith were beginning to understand that something was wrong. Their casualty reports kept rising. Their patrols kept disappearing. And the humans they had declared defeated refused to stay defeated. In their orbital command ship, the Velith commanders argued about what to do. Some wanted to burn the forests where the humans hid. Others wanted to release poison into the atmosphere. A few suggested negotiation. Perhaps the humans could be useful as workers instead of corpses. The High Commander dismissed them all. They are primitives, he declared. They have no ships, no advanced weapons, no understanding of real war. This is a temporary problem. Send more soldiers. Kill more humans. Eventually they will run out of people to fight with. He was wrong, but he would not realize how wrong until it was far too late. Underground, Minji made her most important discovery yet. She had captured a Velith communication device and spent 3 months learning to read their language. Now she could access their databases. And what she found changed everything. "They're afraid," she told Do-yoon through encrypted radio. "Not of us specifically, but of failure. If they don't secure Earth quickly, other species will question their strength. The Velith have enemies. Lots of them. Species they conquered before. Species that want revenge. So they're on a schedule," Do-hyun said. "They need to finish us fast. Yes, and that's their weakness. They're rushing. They're making mistakes. And the longer we survive, the more desperate they become." Do-hyun sat in the darkness, thinking about this. The Velith were not invincible. They were not gods. They were just creatures, pressed for time, far from home, trying to save their dying species. In a strange way, he almost understood them. But understanding changed nothing. They had killed his wife. They had killed his daughter. They had killed billions of humans. And they would kill billions more if nobody stopped them. "We need to move faster," he said. "Bigger attacks. More coordination. Make them feel the cost of every day they stay on our planet." Yuna was already planning. "There's a supply depot near what used to be Incheon, poorly guarded. If we hit it, we could capture enough weapons to arm 500 more fighters. And the communications center in Gwangju," Jisoo added. "Take that out, and they lose contact with half their Asian forces for hours." Privately, Sunho spoke up. He had grown in the past 6 months. No longer a frightened boy, he was now one of their best scouts. "The patrols in Sector 7 follow the same route every night. We could trap them, kill them all. Show the Velith that nowhere is safe." Do-hyun looked at his soldiers, his family. The only family he had left. "Do it all," he said. "Contact every resistance cell in Asia. Tomorrow night, we strike everywhere at once. Let them see what humans can do when they decide to fight." The next night, the sky over Korea lit up with explosions. The supply depot in Incheon burned. The communications center in Gwangju fell silent. 17 Velith patrols across the country walked into traps and died. Similar attacks happened across the world. Brazil hit 3 targets. Norway destroyed a landing pad. Kenya took down every drone in a 500-kilometer radius. For one night, humanity stopped hiding. For one night, they attacked. In the orbital command ship, the High Commander received casualty reports from every continent. His subordinates watched nervously as his face changed from confidence to confusion to something that might have been fear. "Impossible," he whispered. "We declared them defeated. We told the homeworld they were broken." "They were supposed to be," his aide replied. "But they did not accept it." The High Commander stared at the reports. Thousands of Velith dead. Supply lines cut. Communications disrupted. All in one night. "What are these creatures?" he asked quietly. Nobody answered. Nobody knew. On Earth, in caves and tunnels and ruined cities, humans watched the flames rise. They had spent 6 months as embers, waiting, growing, preparing. Now the embers were catching fire. The war for Earth had truly begun. 1 year had passed since the invasion. 1 year of death and hiding and fighting in the dark. 1 year of small victories and terrible losses. 1 year of learning how to hurt an enemy that should have been unstoppable. Now it was time for something bigger. Captain Park Do-yeon stood on a hillside overlooking what used to be Busan. The city was gone, replaced by a massive Velith command center. Metal towers rose into the sky. Alien ships came and went constantly. Thousands of soldiers patrolled the perimeter. This was the heart of Velith operations in Asia. If it fell, everything would change. "The shield generators are here, here, and here," said Lieutenant Kim Yuna, pointing at a holographic map they had stolen from the enemy. Dr. Cho found a weakness in their design. If we hit all three at exactly the same time, the shields collapse for 90 seconds. 90 seconds, Sergeant Beak Jisu repeated. That's not much time. It's enough, said Corporal Han Taiwu. Everyone looked at him. Taiwu sat in a wheelchair that he had modified into a weapons platform. Both his legs were gone, lost in the first week of the invasion. Most people would have given up. Taiwu had built himself a tank instead. I can get to the power core, he said. 90 seconds is plenty of time. And once I'm there, I'll make sure the explosion is big enough to matter. Nobody asked what would happen to Taiwu after the explosion. They all knew. He knew too. Are you sure? Do-hyun asked quietly. Taiwu met his eyes without flinching. My wife died in Bizen. My son too. He was 4 years old. 4. He didn't understand why the sky was falling. He just kept asking me to make it stop. His voice cracked slightly, then hardened again. I couldn't save them, but I can avenge them. Let me do this. Do-hyun put his hand on Taiwu's shoulder. Your name will be remembered forever. I don't need to be remembered. I just need them to pay. The attack was planned for midnight. Yuna coordinated with resistance cells across 3 time zones. When the Bizen strike began, similar attacks would happen in Europe, Africa, and South America. The Velith would have no time to send reinforcements. They would be fighting everywhere at once. Private Lee Sung-ho would lead one of the shield generator teams. He was 20 now, hardened by a year of war. The frightened boy who had killed his first alien with a knife was gone. In his place stood a warrior. Nervous? Jisu asked him as they prepared their equipment. Yes, Sun-ho admitted, but not about dying. I'm nervous about failing. So many people are counting on us. Jisu touched his arm gently. You won't fail. You've never failed. At exactly midnight, the assault began. Sun-ho's team hit the eastern shield generator. They came out of the darkness like ghosts, killing the guards before alarms could sound. Sun-ho personally planted the explosives, his hands steady even as plasma fire erupted around him. On the western side, Jisu led her team with deadly precision. Her arrows flew faster than the Velith could react. 7 aliens died before they realized they were under attack. By the time reinforcements arrived, the explosives were armed and her team was retreating. The southern generator was the hardest. The Velith had extra guards there, and the fighting was brutal. 3 resistance fighters died in the first minute. But the survivors pushed forward, driven by rage and determination that the aliens could not understand. At 12:07, all 3 generators exploded. The shields around the command center flickered and died. Taiwu rolled toward the power core. Velith soldiers tried to stop him, but his wheelchair was armed with plasma cannons taken from dead enemies. He cut through them like a scythe through wheat. The power core was massive, a glowing sphere of energy that powered everything the Velith had built. Taiwu looked at it and thought of his son. Little Mo with his bright smile and endless questions. Why is the sky blue, Daddy? Why do birds fly? Why are you sad? I'm coming, Minho, Taiwu whispered. I'm coming. He pressed the detonator. The explosion was visible from space. The entire command center disappeared in a ball of white fire. The shockwave knocked down buildings for miles. And when the light faded, nothing remained but a smoking crater. Across the planet, similar destruction erupted. The European command center in what used to be Paris lost half its structure. The African supply depot in Nigeria burned for 3 days. The South American communications hub in Brazil went completely silent. For the first time since the invasion began, the Velith sent a distress signal to their homeworld. The message was simple. We need help. These creatures will not stop. But victory came with terrible cost. Sun-ho found Jisu lying in the rubble, her left arm gone below the elbow. A plasma blast had taken it clean off. She was conscious, gritting her teeth against the pain. "Medic!" Sunho screamed. "We need a medic here." Jisoo grabbed his shirt with her remaining hand. "Did we do it? Did the shield fall?" "It fell. Taiwu destroyed the power core. The whole base is gone." Jisoo laughed, blood on her lips. "Good. That's good. They lost 47 fighters that night. 47 humans who would never see their homes rebuilt, never hold their families again, never know if humanity would survive. They died in darkness, fighting monsters from the stars, and their only reward was knowing they had hurt the enemy." Dohyun walked through the aftermath as the sun rose. Bodies lay everywhere, mostly Velith, but too many humans as well. He recognized faces, people he had trained, people he had led, people who had trusted him. Yuna found him standing over Sunho's best friend, a young man named Kwon Sungmin, who had dreamed of being a teacher someday. Plasma had burned through his chest. 47, Dohyun said quietly. 47 good people. And over 2,000 of them, Yuna replied. Plus the command center. Plus the weapons. Plus the communications equipment. The Velith in Asia are blind and confused. It will take them months to recover. Was it worth it? Yuna considered the question. She had no easy answer. Was any victory worth the lives it cost? Was any war worth the people it consumed? I don't know, she finally said. But I know that doing nothing would have been worse. At least now they know we can hurt them. Really hurt them. Daehyun bent down and closed Sungmin's eyes. Then he stood and looked toward the smoke rising from the destroyed base. Send a message to all resistance groups, he said. Tell them what we did tonight. Tell them the Velith can be broken. Tell them to keep fighting, no matter what. And tell them, he paused, searching for the right words. Tell them their sacrifice matters. Every single one. Tell them they are heroes. The message spread across Earth in hours. In caves and tunnels and hidden camps, humans heard about the Battle of Bizen. They heard about Taiwu's sacrifice. They heard about the 47 who died so that the rest could keep fighting. And they did keep fighting, because that was what humans did. They fell down and they got back up. They lost battles and they started new ones. They buried their dead and they kept moving forward. The Velith had expected easy conquest. They had found something else entirely. They had found a species that did not know how to surrender. A species that turned grief into fuel and rage into strength. The spark had been lit. The fire was spreading. And soon, nothing would be able to stop it. 2 years since the invasion. 2 years since the world ended and something new began. The Velith reinforcement fleet arrived on a Tuesday morning. 200 warships carrying fresh troops and weapons. They blocked out the sun over the Pacific Ocean, a wall of metal and destruction that stretched as far as anyone could see. The Velith High Command had promised their leaders that this fleet would end the human problem forever. They would burn the forests. They would poison the waters. They would hunt down every last resistance fighter and crush them like insects. They expected to find scattered survivors hiding in caves. They found an army. Dr. Cho Minji had not slept in 3 days. She stood in her underground laboratory, watching as technicians assembled the last of their new weapons. Human plasma rifles, built from stolen Velith technology. Shield generators that could protect a small area from enemy fire. And her greatest creation, a biological agent that targeted proteins found only in Velith bodies. It won't kill them, she explained to General Park Do-hyun. He had earned that title now. Every resistance group on Earth recognized his authority. But it will make them very sick. Unable to fight. Unable to think clearly. It spreads through their air systems. One infected Velith will disable an entire ship. Do-Hyun looked at the small canister in her hand. You could have made it lethal. Yes. Why didn't you? Minji met his eyes. Because I don't want to become what we're fighting. The Velith tried to exterminate us. I won't do the same to them. Even after everything they've done. Do-Hyun nodded slowly. This was why he trusted Minji. This was why they all trusted her. She had kept her humanity even in the middle of an inhuman war. Admiral Kang Haijin commanded the human fleet. It was not much of a fleet by Velith standards. Cargo ships modified with plasma cannons. Fishing boats carrying missiles built in hidden factories. Even a cruise liner that had been transformed into a carrier for small fighter craft. Haijin had served in the Korean Navy for 25 years. She had never expected to command anything like this. But war had a way of changing people. We can't win a straight fight, she told her captains. They have better ships, better weapons, better numbers. But we're not going to fight straight. We're going to fight dirty. The Battle of the Pacific began at dawn. The Velith fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their commanders confident in their overwhelming superiority. Human ships scattered before them like leaves in the wind. Then the cruise liner fired. 50 small aircraft launched from its deck and flew directly at the Velith formation. They were crude machines, built from car engines and airplane parts. Each one carried a single pilot and a single purpose. The Velith shot down most of them, but 11 got through. 11 pilots flew their tiny aircraft directly into Velith shield generators, ejecting at the last possible second, their explosives punching holes in the enemy defenses. Shields failing on multiple ships. The Velith admiral shouted, "How is this possible?" His second-in-command stared at the tactical display in disbelief. They flew into us. On purpose. They sacrificed themselves. Impossible. No species would. The next wave hit before he could finish. Fishing boats loaded with explosives rammed Velith cruisers. Cargo ships detonated their reactors inside enemy formations. Human soldiers fired missiles from sinking ships, refusing to stop fighting, even as the water closed over their heads. Lieutenant Kim Yuna watched the battle from a command center hidden in the mountains of Japan. She had planned most of this. Every sacrifice, every kamikaze run, every desperate charge. She had calculated the costs and made the hardest choices. Sector 7 is lost, Sergeant Big Jisu reported. Her voice was steady despite everything. Her missing arm had been replaced with a mechanical prosthetic that could crush steel. All ships destroyed. But they took 3 Velith destroyers with them. Sector 3? Holding. Admiral Kang is moving to support. Yuna made a note on her display. More names she would have to remember. More letters she would have to write to families who might not exist anymore. Deploy the biological weapons, she ordered. Target their command ships. Small missiles launched from hidden locations across the Pacific. Most were shot down, but 12 reached their targets. The canisters broke open and Minji's creation spread through Velith ventilation systems. Within an hour, 3 Velith command ships went dark. Their crews were alive, but barely conscious, unable to coordinate the battle. The perfect formation fell apart. Admiral Haijin seized the moment. She ordered her remaining ships forward in a final, desperate charge. They were outgunned and outmatched, but they were also fearless. All ships, she announced on the open channel. Make them pay for every meter. Make them understand what it costs to invade Earth. For our families. For our children. For everything they took from us. The battle raged for 3 days. On the Velith command ship, the admiral watched in growing horror as his fleet was torn apart. Human ships that should have been destroyed kept fighting. Human soldiers who should have surrendered kept attacking. Human pilots flew into death without hesitation. Why won't they stop? he demanded. They must know they cannot win. His tactical officer studied the human communications with something like awe. They are not trying to win. They are trying to make victory cost more than we can pay. The admiral did not understand. The Velith fought for survival, for their dying homeworld, for the future of their species. These humans fought for revenge, for pride, for concepts he could not comprehend. Fall back, he finally ordered. All ships, fall back and regroup. The Velith retreated. Humanity had lost 60% of its ships. Thousands of sailors and soldiers were dead. The Pacific was filled with burning wreckage and floating bodies. By any rational measure, it was a catastrophe. But the Velith reinforcement fleet was destroyed. 200 warships reduced to 43. Fresh troops that never reached the ground. Advanced weapons that now belonged to the humans who had captured them. On Earth, people who had hidden for 2 years came out of their caves and looked at the sky. For the first time since the invasion, the sky was empty. No Velith ships. No death from above. Just blue sky and white clouds. Do-hyun received the news in his command bunker. He sat in silence for a long moment, processing what had happened. We won? He finally asked. Yuna shook her head. We survived. They'll come back. They have to. Their homeworld is dying. This war isn't over. No, but it's different now. Do-hyun stood and walked to the window. Outside, he could hear cheering. Soldiers who had fought for 2 years without hope were celebrating the first real victory. They know we can beat them. We know we can beat them. Everything changes from here. Jeju joined them, her mechanical arm gleaming in the light. Admiral Kang sends her regards. She says the fleet is ready for round 2. How many ships do we have left? 37. But we're building more. Faster now that we have their technology. Do-hyun allowed himself a small smile. It was the first time he had smiled in 2 years. 37. That's how many soldiers I started with. 37. He thought of Taiwu, who had given his life in Bizan. He thought of Sunho, who was now a captain, leading his own battalion. He thought of Minji, who had kept her humanity while learning to destroy the enemy. He thought of all the dead, all the sacrifice, all the impossible things they had done. Tell everyone to rest, he said. Tomorrow we start planning the next phase. The Velith came to take our world. It's time we took theirs. The fire that had started in the mountains of Korea now burned across the planet. And soon, it would burn among the stars. 3 years since the day the sky burned. 3 years since Park Do-hyun watched Seoul die. 3 years of blood and fire and impossible survival. And now the Velith Dominion was asking for peace. The meeting took place in the ruins of the old United Nations building in New York. Most of the structure was gone, destroyed in the first wave of attacks. But the Great Hall still stood, its walls scarred by plasma burns and its windows shattered. It was a symbol of what humanity had lost and what humanity had survived. General Do-hyun walked into the hall with Lieutenant Yuna at his side. Behind them came Sergeant Jisoo, her mechanical arm humming softly, and Dr. Minji, who carried a tablet containing every secret humanity had learned about the Velith. Captain Sunho guarded the entrance, his face hard and watchful. The Velith diplomat waited for them at the center of the hall. He was smaller than the warriors, with thinner limbs and fewer scars. His translator device hung around his neck, turning his clicking speech into perfect Korean. General Park, the diplomat said. I am called Darren. I speak for the Velith Dominion. Do-hyun did not sit. He did not bow. He stood and waited. Darren continued. The Dominion acknowledges that the campaign on Earth has been difficult. We have lost more forces here than on any world in our history. Our leadership has decided that Earth is not viable for colonization. The cost is too high. Yuna translated for the human observers watching through hidden cameras. Across the world, billions of survivors held their breath. "We propose a complete withdrawal," Theron said. "All Velith forces will leave Earth within 30 standard days. In exchange, humanity will agree to remain in this solar system. No expansion beyond your planet. No building of warships capable of interstellar travel. A simple peace between our peoples." Dahyun listened. His face showed nothing. "You invaded our world," he said quietly. "You killed 7 billion people. 7 billion. You burned our cities. You poisoned our waters. You hunted us like animals. And now you want peace. The Dominion recognizes that mistakes were made." "No." Dahyun's voice was soft, but it filled the entire hall. "You don't get to call them mistakes. You tried to exterminate us. Every man, every woman, every child. You wanted our planet empty of human life forever." Theron shifted uncomfortably. "War is regrettable. Both sides have suffered. We're not interested in your regrets." Dahyun stepped forward, and the diplomat took an involuntary step back. Even after 3 years, the Velith still feared humans. They learned to fear. "We're not interested in peace that leaves us trapped on our own world, waiting for you to come back when you're strong again." He pulled Minji's tablet from his coat and activated it. Holographic displays filled the air. Velith biology, Velith technology, Velith military weaknesses. "This is everything we learned about you," Dahyun said. "Every secret, every vulnerability, every way to hurt you. We're going to share this with every species you've ever conquered, every world you've taken, every race you thought you'd broken." Theron's eyes widened. His mandibles clicked in distress. "You would start an interstellar war? You would cause chaos across the galaxy? We would end one." Dahyun's voice was cold as winter. "For 43 worlds, nobody fought back. Nobody knew how. But now they will. Because of us. Because of what we learned. The Velith Dominion ends today. Not because we'll destroy you ourselves, but because we'll show everyone else how." The diplomat looked around the room, searching for sympathy or understanding. He found neither. Only hard faces and harder eyes. Humans who had buried their families, lost their homes, fought for 3 years without surrender. This is not acceptable," Theron stammered. "The Dominion will not. The Dominion has no choice." Yuna stepped forward, her voice sharp as a blade. "You came to Earth to find easy prey. You found something else. And now you'll pay for every life you took, every city you burned, every child who died crying for parents who were already dead." Silence filled the hall. Theron looked at Dahyun one last time. "What do you want from us?" Dahyun considered the question. For 3 years, he dreamed of this moment. For 3 years, he had imagined standing over defeated enemies, demanding their surrender, making them suffer as humanity had suffered. But when the moment came, he felt only tired. Tired and empty. "Leave," he said simply. "Leave Earth. Leave this solar system. And never come back. Do that, and we'll give you 1 year before we release the information. 1 year to prepare for what's coming. And if we refuse?" Dahyun smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Then we release it today. And we start building warships tomorrow. You've seen what humans can do when we're defending our home. Imagine what we'll do when we're attacking yours." The Velith diplomat had no response. He had come expecting to negotiate with a broken species grateful for peace. Instead, he found conquerors who had not yet decided to conquer. "The Dominion will consider your terms," he finally said. "We will give you our answer within 3 days." "You have 1 day," Dahyun corrected. "After that, we release everything. Clock starts now." Theron left without another word. His ships departed Earth orbit 12 hours later. The entire Velith fleet was gone within a week. That night, Do-hyun stood on the roof of the ruined UN building and looked at the stars. Yuna found him there, staring upward in silence. "We did it," she said. "We actually did it, did we?" Do-hyun thought about all the people who had died to make this moment possible. Taewoo, Sungmin, thousands of others, whose names he had tried so hard to remember. We survived. That's not the same as winning. It's a start. Yuna stood beside him, looking at the same stars. What happens now? Now, we rebuild. We learn. We get ready for whatever comes next. He paused. The galaxy knows about us now. Other species will come. Some will want to trade. Some will want to fight. We need to be ready for all of them. And the Velith? Do-hyun's expression hardened. We release the information anyway. Every species they ever conquered now knows how to hurt them. Their empire is already falling apart. In 50 years, they'll be the refugees they tried to make us. Is that justice? I don't know. I stopped believing in justice when they killed my daughter. He finally looked at Yuna. But it's done. And now we move forward. 50 years later, humanity took its seat on the Galactic Council. The other species looked at the human delegates with a mixture of respect and fear. The Velith, now reduced to 3 dying worlds, refused to attend any session where humans were present. Ambassador Kang Sujin, Admiral Haijin's granddaughter, gave humanity's first speech to the assembled representatives. She was young and proud, with fire in her eyes inherited from generations of survivors. "We come in peace," she said, and she meant it. "But we remember war. We remember what it costs. We remember what it takes to win. So let this be understood by everyone here today." She looked around the chamber at beings from 100 different worlds. Earth will never burn again, and anyone who tries will learn what our ancestors learned. Humans don't surrender. Humans don't forget. And when you push us, we push back harder than you can imagine. The chamber was silent. On Earth, in a small cemetery outside rebuilt Seoul, there was a memorial to the fallen. Millions of names carved in stone. Everyone who had died in the 3-year war. At the center stood a statue of a soldier holding a rifle, looking toward the sky. The inscription at the base was simple. They came for our world. We answered with fire. Here lie the heroes who lit the flame. Below that, smaller words. They thought our weapons made us dangerous. They were wrong. It was never our weapons. It was always us. Park Do-hyun had died 20 years after the war, an old man who had seen his species rise from ashes. His final words were spoken to his grandchildren, who knew the invasion only from history books. "Remember," he told them. "Remember what we lost. Remember what we saved. And remember that no matter how dark things get, humans always find a way to burn brighter." The fire that started in the mountains of Korea had spread across the stars, and it would never go out. This was humanity's answer. This was forever.